My name is Frank Mallory. I am 78 years old and a former building inspector from Cedar Grove, New Jersey. For years, I noticed troubling signs with my 6-year-old grandson Jamie. He lived with his mother, my daughter Kara, nearby. I started a careful dossier to track everything. I noted dates when bruises appeared on his fingers, like from being gripped too hard. I took photos discreetly. There were missed school pickups, and his teacher shared notes about Jamie arriving hungry or tired. Neighbors mentioned patterns of neglect, such as Kara leaving him alone for hours. I kept all this organized, hoping it would never come to more. I remember that night as if it were etched into the walls of my old house on Elm Street. It was mid-February, the kind of cold that seeps through every crack in Cedar Grove's winter grip. The clock on the mantel had just chimed twice, pulling me from a shallow sleep in my armchair. I'd been dozing over a cup of cooled tea, the dossier spread out on the coffee table like a map of worries I couldn't ignore anymore. Jamie's latest school photo stared up at me, his small face framed by that unruly brown hair, eyes wide but starting to carry a shadow they shouldn't have at 6 years old. The knock came sharp and frantic, like someone pounding for their life. It wasn't the polite rap of a neighbor borrowing sugar or the mailman with a late package. This was desperate, echoing through the quiet house. I shuffled to the door in my slippers, heart picking up pace, and flipped on the porch light. There, huddled on the welcome mat, was Jamie. Barefoot. In nothing but his thin pajamas, the ones with the faded rocket ships Kara had bought him last summer. His cheeks were flushed red from the cold, tears freezing into tracks on his face. He looked up at me with those big eyes, and all I could think was how small he seemed against the winter night. "Grandpa," he whispered, voice trembling as he threw his arms around my legs. "Mom said I can't go home anymore." I knelt down, pulling him inside without a word, the door clicking shut behind us like a seal on a vow. The warmth of the living room hit him, and he started shivering harder, his bare feet leaving wet prints on the rug. That's when I saw it, the mark on his right foot. Scrawled in black marker, sloppy but deliberate, out. Below it, initials, K.R. Kara's initials. It looked like one of those stamps they use at nightclubs to mark who's been served, but on a child's skin. My stomach twisted. This wasn't an accident or a game. This was her signature, a cruel expulsion, proof that she'd sent him out into the night like discarded trash. "Come on, buddy," I said, my voice steady even as my hands shook while wrapping him in the Afghan from the couch. I carried him to the kitchen, sat him on a stool, and turned up the heat. He was ice cold, toes curled against the linoleum. I fetched socks from the dryer, his spares from when he stayed over last weekend, and slipped them on, covering that awful mark. But I couldn't stop staring at it. I'd documented bruises before, the missed pickups, the teacher's quiet concerns about Jamie coming to school unkempt. But this? This was the line crossed, the spark that ignited everything. Jamie sniffled, wiping his nose on the blanket. We had a party at home. Loud music. Mom was laughing with her friends. I asked for a glass of water, and she got mad. Said I was in the way. Then she took the marker from the table and wrote on my foot. Told me to go to your house and not come back until she said so. His words came out in a rush, steady but frightened, like he'd rehearsed them to keep from crying more. I nodded, grabbing my phone from the counter. "Okay, Jamie. You're safe here. Tell me everything, just like that." I hit record on the voice memo app, the red light blinking as I poured him a mug of warm milk. He sipped it slowly, recounting the evening, the party starting after dinner, strangers filling the living room, Kara handing out drinks from the kitchen. He'd tried to sleep in his room, but the noise kept him up. When he wandered out, she yelled, grabbed his arm, not hard enough to bruise this time, but firm, and marched him to the door. The marker. The words. Out. And then the push onto the porch, the door slamming shut. I kept my face calm for him, but inside, the dossier I'd built over years felt like it was screaming. Dates: October 15th, bruise on his left hand after Kara's date night left him with a sitter who forgot dinner. Photo: November 3rd, Jamie at school with mismatched clothes, hair unbrushed. Note from neighbor Mrs. Hargrove, December 20th, heard yelling at 10 p.m., Jamie asking to come over. And now this. I snapped a quick photo of his foot after he finished the milk, the marker still smudged but clear under the kitchen light. Evidence. Undeniable. Grandpa, am I in trouble? Jamie asked, his small hands clutching the mug. No, son. You're not. This isn't your fault. I ruffled his hair, the same way I used to when he was a toddler visiting after Kara's divorce from his dad. That man was long gone, but Kara, she'd always been headstrong, even as a girl. I thought the baby would soften her, make her the mother I raised her to be. But life had hardened her instead, bills piling up, odd jobs at the local club, nights out that stretched too long. I'd excused it as modern parenting, told myself she was trying. But seeing Jamie like this, marked and cast out, shattered that. I dialed the non-emergency line for the local police. It was 2:17 a.m. now. The dispatcher listened as I explained, 6-year-old grandson, barefoot, claims of expulsion by mother. They promised a patrol car within 10 minutes. While we waited, I got Jamie into fresh clothes, my old flannel shirt as a nightgown, and tucked him on the couch with pillows. He was out cold in seconds, exhaustion winning over fear. I sat beside him, adding to the dossier on my laptop, timestamp 2 a.m., condition upon arrival, verbal account summary. The photo of the foot. My own notes: immediate welfare check needed at Kara's residence, 142 Oak Lane. The officers arrived quietly, 2 of them in crisp uniforms that made the house feel smaller. Officer Reyes, a woman with kind eyes, knelt by Jamie, checking his vitals while her partner, a burly guy named Patel, took my statement. I showed them the photo, the recording, everything but the full dossier, saving that for later. We'll head over there now, Reyes said. You stay put with the boy. They were back in under an hour, the cold clinging to their jackets. Kara's house was lit up like a holiday, music thumping faintly even from the street. Party in full swing, empty bottles on the porch, a couple of guests stumbling out. Kara answered the door disheveled, eyes glassy, insisting Jamie was asleep upstairs the whole time. But the officers checked, his bed was empty, cold. No sign of him. When they mentioned the mark, she laughed it off, kids draw on themselves all the time. But Patel noted the marker on the kitchen table, cap off, ink matching the scrawl. By 4 a.m., social services was involved. I spoke to Elena Vasquez on the phone, a caseworker I'd heard good things about from a friend at the community center. She arrived at dawn, her notebook ready. Jamie woke up groggy but repeated his story without hesitation. Vasquez examined the foot gently, photographing it herself. This is deliberate neglect, she said, voice low. We'll place him with you temporarily, Mr. Mallory. Emergency order barring unmonitored contact with Ms. Kara until the hearing. Can you manage? I looked at Jamie, now coloring at the table with crayons I'd dug out from a drawer. Yes. He's family. The next hours blurred. Vasquez filed the paperwork on site, the temporary custody order crisp and official. Kara called once, her voice slurred through the line, Dad, what the hell? He's fine, just a misunderstanding. I hung up, blocking the number for now. The dossier grew, police report summary, social services notes, Jamie's second recounting to Vasquez. As the sun rose, painting the kitchen gold, I made pancakes, Jamie's favorite, with chocolate chips. He ate quietly, watching me with those trusting eyes. That mark on his foot? It faded over the days with soap and time, but it stayed in my mind, a permanent stamp on my resolve. I'd built structures for a living, inspected them for weaknesses. Now, I was inspecting my family, and the cracks in Kara's care ran deep. This knock at 2 a.m. wasn't just a cry for help, it was the foundation shifting, demanding I act before everything collapsed. But action wasn't simple. I spent the morning on hold with the family court clerk, scheduling the hearing for the following week. Vasquez stopped by again, bringing a backpack of Jamie's clothes from his room. Kara had packed minimally, as if expecting this. I thanked her, then sat Jamie down for a real talk. "You're staying here, with me. School on Monday, just like always. We'll figure the rest out." He nodded, but I saw the flicker of doubt. What if Mom wants me back? Then we let the grown-ups decide what's best. I didn't tell him about the dossier, the photos, the plans forming. But as he napped that afternoon, I added more: contact list for lawyers, school counselor referral, even a quiet call to Kara's boss at the club to check on her shifts. Patterns. That's what inspectors look for. And the pattern here was clear: neglect building to expulsion. The days before the hearing tested me. Jamie had nightmares the first night, waking at 3 a.m. crying for his mom. I held him, rocking like I had Kara as a child. "No one's sending you away," I whispered. School pickup became my routine. His teacher, Mrs. Linden, pulled me aside that Monday. "He's brighter today, Mr. Mallory. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." I shared a snippet of the story, enough to get her testimony lined up. Kara tried to see him twice, showing up at the door unannounced, eyes red from crying or hangover, I couldn't tell. But the order held. I called Vasquez each time, documenting. "She's not stable," I told myself, flipping through the dossier. The bruises, the misses, now this mark. It all pointed to one truth: Jamie needed structure, not chaos. By week's end, as the hearing loomed, I felt the weight lift slightly. Jamie laughed at a cartoon that Friday night, the first real one since the knock. I cooked spaghetti, his request, and we ate at the table, talking about robots and school projects. That out on his foot? It was the out for him, from harm's way. And for me, the in, to being the grandfather he deserved. That 2 a.m. knock lingered in my bones like the chill from the night air, but it forced me into motion I couldn't delay any longer. Jamie sat there in the kitchen, wrapped in that Afghan, his small frame still trembling from the cold as he sipped the warm milk I'd heated on the stove. His eyes, usually so bright with questions about trucks or stars, now held a quiet fear that cut deeper than any tool mark on a faulty beam. I knew right then that protection came first: shelter, records, and the authorities to make it stick. No more watching from the sidelines with my dossier gathering dust. I kept my voice even as I knelt to his level, the linoleum cool under my knees. "Jamie, you're staying right here. No one's taking you back out there tonight." He nodded, clutching the mug like a lifeline, and I could see the relief flicker in his face. But I wasn't just talking comfort, I was building a case in real time. I pulled out my phone again, the voice memo still running from earlier, and gently prompted him to repeat what he'd told me. "Start from the party, buddy. Every detail you remember." He did, his words coming out in that steady, childlike precision, the music thumping through the walls, Kara's friends laughing too loud, her grabbing the marker from the coffee table where bills and takeout menus lay scattered. "She said I was too much trouble," he added, staring at the floor. "Wrote out so I wouldn't forget." I stopped the recording at 2:23 a.m., timestamped it, and emailed it to myself for backup. Then, I snapped another photo of his foot, the black scrawl stark against his pale skin, initials KR glaring like a brand. No fluff, no excuses, this was evidence, cold and clear. My dossier had pages of suspicions, but this was the cornerstone. I helped him off the stool, led him to the guest room I'd turned into his space during visits, bed made with fresh sheets, a nightlight plugged in from the last time he'd stayed over after one of Kara's late shifts. He crawled under the covers without protest. Exhaustion pulling him under fast. I sat by the bed until his breathing evened out, then headed back to the living room to call the police. The non-emergency line connected after one ring, the dispatcher's voice calm and professional. Cedar Grove PD. What's the nature of your call? I laid it out, my 6-year-old grandson, showing up barefoot at my door in sub-zero temps, claiming his mother kicked him out during a house party. I mentioned the mark on his foot, kept it factual, no accusations, just facts. He's safe here, but I need a welfare check on the residents. They dispatched a unit immediately, ETA 10 minutes. While I waited, I jotted notes in the dossier: arrival time, physical condition, hypothermic, no shoes, emotional distress, verbal statement summary. At 78, my hands aren't as steady as they were inspecting high-rises, but they held the pen firm. Officers Reyes and Patel arrived just as the clock hit 2:35 a.m., their cruiser pulling up silently to avoid waking the street. Reyes was the first through the door, her badge catching the porch light. She took one look at Jamie's shoes by the mat, small Nikes, caked in porch frost, and her expression tightened. "Can we see him?" she asked. I nodded, leading them to the guest room where he stirred but didn't wake. Patel shone a gentle flashlight on his foot, confirming the writing. "This is irregular," he muttered, pulling out a notepad. They took my statement there, in the dim light, while Reyes radioed for a supervisor. By 2:50, they were en route to Kara's place at 142 Oak Lane, a modest ranch house I'd helped her buy after the divorce 5 years back. I paced the living room, glancing at the dossier on the table, photos of old bruises, teacher emails about Jamie's absences. The wait stretched, each minute ticking like a countdown. At 3:12 a.m., Reyes called back. "Mr. Mallory, we've got eyes on the house." Lights on, music audible from the street. Several adults visible through the windows, looks like a party in progress. Empty bottles on the porch, no sign of the child. They knocked, and Kara answered after a delay, door cracking open. She was in a robe, hair tousled, the smell of alcohol hitting them before her words did. According to the report they emailed later, Kara's story unraveled quick. "Jamie's asleep upstairs," she insisted, rubbing her eyes like she'd just woken. But the officers insisted on checking, standard procedure for a missing minor. Upstairs, his room was empty, bed made, toys untouched, a half-eaten sandwich on the nightstand from earlier. Kara doubled down, he must have snuck out. Kids do that. Reyes noted the kitchen in her log, beer cans on the counter, a red plastic cup by the sink, and that black marker, cap off, right where Jamie said. No denial from Kara on the party, she admitted to a few friends over but claimed it was tame. The officers secured the scene, took statements from 2 guests who mumbled about not seeing the kid all night, and one even recalled Kara yelling at someone small before the door slammed. Patel stayed on the line with me while Reyes wrapped up. "She's not cooperating fully, sir. We're calling social services now. Child's welfare is priority." I thanked him, my grip tight on the phone. By 3:45 a.m., Elena Vasquez from County Social Services was looped in. I'd met her type before, through community meetings, efficient and no-nonsense. She arrived at my house by 4:15, her sedan crunching gravel in the driveway. Tall, with a clipboard under her arm, she introduced herself at the door. "Mr. Mallory? I'm here for the welfare assessment." We sat in the kitchen, Jamie still asleep down the hall. I offered coffee, black, no sugar, the way inspectors like it, and she accepted, flipping open her file. "Walk me through it." I did, the knock, his condition, the recording, the photo. She listened, nodding, then asked to see him. We tiptoed to the room, Jamie mumbled in his sleep but didn't wake. Vasquez checked his temperature, normal now, examined the foot under a lamp, and took her own photos with a department camera. "This mark indicates intent," she said quietly. "Combined with the exposure to cold and the party environment. It's grounds for immediate intervention." She made calls from my landline, to the supervisor, the police for the full report, even a quick one to the school for Jamie's records first thing in the morning. By 5 a.m., the temporary order was in motion, an emergency placement granting me custody until the hearing. "You have a stable home, family ties," Vasquez explained, handing me the prelim paperwork. "Ms. Kara will be barred from unmonitored contact. No visits without supervision, pending evaluation." I signed where indicated, my signature steady despite the hour. Kara's reaction? Vasquez had spoken to her briefly. She was sobering up at the station, denying everything, but the evidence was stacking. The sun crept up as Vasquez left, leaving me with a folder of forms and a number for follow-up. Jamie woke around 7, rubbing his eyes at the smell of toast. "Am I going to school today?" he asked, like it was any Tuesday. I shook my head. "Not yet, champ. We're taking a day to get things sorted." I called the school, spoke to Principal Hargrove, Mrs. Linden's boss, and explained the basics: family emergency, Jamie out today. They were understanding, even offered counseling if needed. That morning, I focused on normalcy. We ate breakfast, oatmeal with raisins, his pick, then I helped him wash the marker off in the tub, the black fading under warm water and soap. "See? Gone," I said, but I kept the photo. Protection meant layers: physical, legal, emotional. I updated the dossier with the police report, emailed by noon, Vasquez's notes, even a log of Jamie's first meal with me: stable, no incidents. Kara called at 10 a.m., her voice sharp through the line. "Dad, this is ridiculous. Give him back. He's my son." I kept it brief: "The order's in place, Kara. We'll see what the court says." She argued, claimed it was a one-off, but I hung up, blocking her as Vasquez advised. No unmonitored contact meant no risks. The day unfolded in steps. I took Jamie to the pediatrician for a checkup, Dr. Ellis, who'd seen him since birth. Mild hypothermia, nothing lasting, she confirmed, but noted the stress in his vitals. She wrote a letter for the file: exposure to elements, emotional trauma. Back home, we built a pillow fort in the living room, his laughter peeking through for the first time. But I was working too, calling a family lawyer recommended by a old union buddy, setting up the hearing for Friday. The dossier hit 20 pages now: timelines, witness contacts, teacher, neighbors, the works. By evening, as Jamie colored pictures of houses with big doors, I felt the shift. Protection wasn't just reacting, it was fortifying. The knock had sparked it, but the order sealed it. Kara's false claim to the cops? It crumbled under scrutiny. Social services had her scheduled for an assessment the next day: alcohol screen, home visit. I lay awake that night, listening to Jamie's soft breathing down the hall. At 78, I'd inspected crumbling foundations, recommended teardowns. This was my family structure, and I was reinforcing it, one documented step at a time. The next days built on that. School stayed on hold. Instead, I enrolled him in a morning playgroup at the community center, supervised and safe. Vasquez checked in daily, praising the routine. Kara tried the supervised route once, met at a neutral spot with a worker present, but Jamie clung to me, and she left early, frustrated. I logged it all: times, reactions, progress. As Friday's hearing approached, the protection felt solid. Jamie asked fewer questions about home, more about staying. That mark on his foot? A fading memory. But the actions it triggered, recording, calling, securing, were permanent. I was his shield now, and nothing would breach it without a fight. That knock at 2 a.m. didn't just bring Jamie to my door, it cracked open the door to truths I'd kept bolted shut for years. I sat in the quiet kitchen the morning after, watching him eat his oatmeal, his spoon scraping the bowl in small, careful scoops. At 78, I'd spent a lifetime inspecting buildings, spotting hairline fractures in concrete, advising on reinforcements before collapses. But with my own family, I'd ignored the signs. rationalizing Kara's choices as the stresses of single motherhood in a town like Cedar Grove. Modern parenting, I told myself. She works 2 jobs, dates sporadically, needs space. The bruises on Jamie's fingers? Clumsy play. Missed pickups? Traffic. Teacher's notes about hunger? Picky eating. My dossier collected it all, but I filed it away like inspection reports for minor code violations, nothing structural, nothing urgent. Seeing him that night changed everything. His red, freezing cheeks pressed against my leg as he hugged me, tears mixing with the frost on his face. The mark on his foot, out, with her initials, stared back like a condemnation. And his voice, steady despite the fear, retelling the party, the marker, the slam of the door. It wasn't a tantrum or a misunderstanding, it was deliberate, a child cast out into the cold. I replayed the recording that morning while he played with blocks in the living room, his words echoing, "Mom said I can't go home anymore." No embellishment, just fact. That broke the denial I'd built, brick by rationalization. I remember pacing the hallway after the officers left, the temporary order papers fresh on the table. Vasquez had just driven off, her assessment complete, and Jamie was napping off the exhaustion. My hands trembled as I added to the dossier, emotional impact notes, his flinching when I raised my voice to answer the phone. For too long, I'd appeased Kara, dropping by with groceries, babysitting without question, excusing her calls at odd hours. She's doing her best, I'd say to neighbors who hinted at concerns. But best for whom? Not Jamie, with his quiet drawings of empty houses during visits, or the way he'd cling to me longer than a grandson should at pickup. The shift hit me fully that afternoon. Jamie woke and asked for a story, something simple about a boy and his robot dog. I sat on the edge of the bed, book in hand, but my mind wandered to Kara as a child. Spirited, yes, but responsible. The divorce from Jamie's father had shattered her. 5 years ago, he walked out for a job in Philly, leaving her with bills and a toddler. I helped then, co-signing the house loan, but she'd pushed me away when I suggested counseling. I got this, Dad. Modern independence, I thought. Now, with Jamie marked and shivering, independence looked like isolation, harm disguised as freedom. I chose safety that day, over any lingering loyalty. No more calls to Kara pleading for her side, the order barred it anyway. Instead, I phoned the family lawyer, Mr. Harlan, an old contact from union days. "Frank, this sounds solid," he said after I outlined the knock, the mark, the police report. "Temporary custody is a start, but push for primary. Document everything, your dossier will be key." I agreed, scheduling a consult for the next day. Safety meant action. I stocked the fridge with kid-friendly foods, cleared space in the closet for his clothes, even called the school to update emergency contacts, me first. Jamie noticed the change too. That evening, as we walked to the park, bundled in coats against the February bite, he slipped his hand in mine without prompting. "Grandpa, will Mom come get me?" His question hung in the air, footsteps crunching snow. I knelt, meeting his eyes. "Not right now. You're safe here, and that's what matters." He nodded, but I saw the flicker, the steady retelling from the night before masking deeper worry. It fueled my resolve. No appeasement, I'd testify if needed, share every photo, every note. The days blurred into a new routine, each one reinforcing the shift. Monday, I took him to school for the first time since the incident. Mrs. Linden greeted us at the gate, her face softening at Jamie's tentative smile. "He's in good hands," she whispered to me, slipping me a folder of recent observations, more absences, withdrawn play. I added it to the dossier, my stance hardening. That night, Kara's friend called, unblocked for emergencies, begging me to let her see him. "She's a mess, Frank. Just talk to her." I declined, citing the order. Safety over sympathy. By midweek, the hearing prep consumed me. Harlan reviewed the dossier in his office, pages spread across the desk like blueprints. "This shows pattern," he said, tapping the bruise photos. "The mark seals intent. Kara's denial to police? It undermines her." I nodded, but inside, guilt twisted. Had I enabled this by staying silent? The rationalizations crumbled. Her harshness wasn't tough love, it was neglect. Jamie's frightened retelling replayed in my mind, his small voice steady as he described the door closing. I chose to act, signing retainers for full representation. Back home, Jamie's flinching eased slightly. He laughed at dinner when I burned the grilled cheese, first real spark since the knock. But bedtime brought the test, a nightmare at 1 a.m., him padding to my room, whispering about the party coming back. I held him, rocking gently. "No parties here. Just us." In that moment, denial fully broke. I'd appeased to keep peace, but peace meant nothing without safety. The next morning, I agreed to the custody terms Harlan outlined, temporary turning permanent, with supervised visits only after evaluations. Full documentation, affidavits from neighbors, teacher testimony lined up. The shift extended to practical steps. I changed the house locks, not out of spite, but security. Kara had a key from years back. Enrolled Jamie in counseling through the school, a gentle therapist named Ms. Rao who specialized in family transitions. "Build trust," she advised after our intake. I did, reading him stories nightly, no rush, just presence. His drawings shifted, from shadowed figures to bright robots. Each one a sign the stance was working. Kara showed up Thursday, unannounced, at the supervised center Vasquez arranged. I waited outside with Jamie, who spotted her through the window and tensed. She entered, eyes puffy, claiming sobriety. "I didn't mean it, Dad." He ran off. But Jamie's steady recount to the supervisor contradicted her, same details, no wavering. She left after 20 minutes, and I logged it, her narrative versus his truth. My choice solidified, safety first, even if it meant estranging my daughter. As the hearing neared, I reflected during quiet evenings. The red cheeks, the mark, they weren't abstract, they were my wake-up. I'd rationalized for years, but action now built the structure Jamie needed. Harlan prepped me for testimony: stick to facts. Your care shows stability. I practiced in the mirror, voice firm. No more denial, the break was complete. Friday morning, we drove to court, Jamie to school after, me to face the judge. But the stance shift started that 2 a.m. night, born from his tears and my resolve. Safety over appeasement, documentation as armor. It guided every step, turning a grandfather's worry into a father's fight for his grandson's world. The days leading to the custody hearing felt like walking a tightrope over Cedar Grove's frozen river, steady steps, but one slip could send everything tumbling. I'd shifted my stance, committing to safety and documentation, but I never expected the case to twist in ways that peeled back layers I hadn't even mapped in my dossier. It started innocently enough, the morning after I changed the locks on my house. Jamie was at school, his first full week back under my pickup routine, and I was at the community center coffee shop, sipping black brew while reviewing notes with Harlan. That's when Mrs. Hargrove, the neighbor from across the street, 80th a day, with a porch full of geraniums even in winter, shuffled over with her walker. "Frank," she said, voice low like sharing state secrets, "you need this." She handed me a USB drive, small as a coin. "My doorbell camera caught something the night Jamie came to you. Thought it might help." I pocketed it, thanked her, and plugged it in at home that afternoon. The footage loaded grainy but clear, timestamp 1:58 a.m., February 14th, Kara's front porch light flickered on, Jamie in his pajamas, marker fresh on his foot. Then her, disheveled, cup in hand, pushing him out the door with one hand on his shoulder, the other slamming it shut. No running off, no accident. She stood there a moment, lit a cigarette, then went back inside to the thump of music. I froze the frame, heart pounding. This wasn't just my word or Jamie's, it was visual proof, erasing any, he wondered, excuse. I emailed it to Harlan immediately, adding to the dossier, neighbor video evidence, corroborates expulsion. Harlan called back within the hour. This strengthens everything, Frank. We'll submit it pre-hearing. But the twists kept coming, like crack spiderwebbing a foundation I thought solid. That evening, as Jamie and I assembled a model robot from a kit, his hands steadier now, less flinching, I got a call from Vasquez. Update on Kara's assessment, she said. We pulled her phone records for the welfare check. Messages to a contact at the school, asking to make complaints disappear about Jamie's absences and condition. My grip tightened on the phone. The contact? Mr. Ellis, the vice principal, who I'd always found too slick. Vasquez read a snippet. Hey, can you bury those notes from Lyndon? Kid's fine, just busy mom stuff. Dated weeks before the knock. Kara had been tampering, trying to silence the pattern I'd documented, the hunger reports, the tiredness logs. I sat Jamie down after dinner, keeping it light. School good today? He nodded, showing me a drawing of a safe house with a big lock. No one pushes me out anymore. His words hit hard, but they fueled me. The next day, Harlan subpoenaed the school's full records, and the messages surfaced in Discovery, texts, timestamps, even a voice note where Kara laughed off the teacher's concerns as overreacting. Ellis confirmed it under questioning, admitting he'd deleted a few emails at her request but kept backups. Felt wrong, he said in his statement. It undermined her credibility clean through, no more modern parenting veil. The dossier swelled, digital forensics summary, school collusion evidence. But the biggest twist came from an angle I never saw, Kara's side gig at the VFW club downtown, where she volunteered as a bookkeeper to pad her resume for custody. I'd noted her shifts in the early logs, late nights, Jamie left with sitters, but nothing deep. Vasquez's home visit had flagged oddities, unpaid bills despite steady work. Digging deeper, Harlan's paralegal ran a quick check, public records, nothing invasive. Turns out, the club had reported irregularities last month, missing funds from the bar till, about $500 over 3 weeks. Kara handled receipts, and audits showed discrepancies, drinks logged but cash short. The club president, old Tom Riley, who'd bowled with me in the 90s, provided statements. She was reliable at first, but numbers didn't add. Confronted her, she quit abruptly. This hit during a prep session at Harlan's office, 2 days before the hearing. He laid out the printouts, ledgers with her initials on mismatched entries, a police report for the theft, not charged yet, but pending. Character evidence, Harlan explained. Shows instability, potential motive for the party, covering shortfalls with booze sales. I stared at the pages, the twists piling like unstable scaffolding. Kara's narrative, Jamie ran off on his own, crumbled under this. No stable mom piloting a house party, it was a desperate cover for deeper chaos. I added it all to the dossier, financial misconduct docs, club testimony outline. Jamie sensed the tension that night. We were at the dinner table, roast chicken, his request, when he asked, "Grandpa, why do you write so much?" I paused, fork midway. To keep things straight, like a story that doesn't change. He smiled, but I saw the shadow, the steady retelling he'd given police, now backed by cameras and texts. The unforeseen elements made me grateful for the shift. Without the dossier, these twists might have stayed buried. The hearing eve brought one more curve. A call from Reyes, the officer from that night. Follow-up, Mr. Mallory. One of the party guests came forward, saw Kara right on Jamie's foot. Felt bad, thought it was a joke at the time. Her statement, she said, "Mark him out so he knows," laughing with the group. It matched Jamie's account perfectly, adding eyewitness weight. Harlan incorporated it overnight, the case now ironclad. Court day dawned crisp, Jamie dropped at school with a promise of ice cream after. The county courthouse smelled of polished wood and coffee, the hearing room small but packed. Vasquez. Harlan, Kara with her public defender, a tired-looking guy named Pierce. She looked composed, hair neat, but her eyes darted when she saw me. The judge, Ms. Caldwell, a no-nonsense type with glasses perched low, called order at 10 a.m. Proceedings started routine, my testimony first. I took the stand, hand on the Bible, voice steady. Your Honor, I've documented neglect for years, bruises, absences, now this expulsion. I referenced the dossier excerpts, the knock, Jamie's condition. Harlan cued the video on a laptop, the push, the door slam, gasps from the gallery. Kara shifted in her seat. Then the twists unfolded. Vasquez presented the phone messages, clear attempt to obstruct reports. The school admin confirmed, Ellis testifying next, sweating under cross. I shouldn't have deleted them. Kara's defender objected, irrelevant, but Caldwell overruled, pattern of deception. The club president followed, ledger in hand, irregularities under her watch. Undermined stability claims. Kara testified last, voice cracking. He ran off. I looked everywhere. But the video played again, her push undeniable. Pierce tried spinning, stress of single parenting. Caldwell wasn't buying, the bookkeeping hit hard. Credibility issues abound, Ms. Kara. By noon, closing arguments wrapped. Harlan, evidence shows deliberate harm, not accident. Pierce, one night doesn't define her. But the judge recessed briefly, returning with questions, about the mark, the messages. This isn't isolated. The unforeseen element sealed it, turning my careful logs into a fortress. As we waited for the ruling, Jamie coloring in the hall outside, I reflected on the twists. The camera, a neighbor's quiet help, the texts, a school's buried shame, the club funds, Kara's hidden strain. They erased her story, spotlighting mine, a grandfather's vigilance. Caldwell ruled at 1 p.m., primary custody to me, supervised visits for Kara post-courses. Child's best interest demands stability. Relief washed over me as Harlan clapped my shoulder. Jamie hugged me tight outside, oblivious to the depths. Ice cream now. Driving home, the twist settled. They'd come unbidden, but my stance, safety, documentation, drew them out. No more rationalizing, the foundation held, rebuilt on truths Jamie deserved. The gavel's echo in that small county courtroom still rings in my ears, a final punctuation on months of worry that started with a frantic knock. It was Friday morning, February 21st, just a week after Jamie showed up at my door marked and shivering. I dropped him at school with a quick hug, be good, see you after ice cream, and drove to the courthouse on Main Street, the old brick building where I'd voted and paid fines over the years. At 78, courtrooms felt like inspecting a condemned site, tense, full of hidden flaws waiting to surface. Harlan met me in the hall, dossier binder under his arm, nodding approval at my tie. We've got this, Frank. The twists play in our favor. I believed him, but my stomach knotted as we entered, the air thick with polished wood and whispered consultations. The room was modest, wooden benches, a raised bench for Judge Caldwell, and tables for us and Kara's side. Vasquez sat near the front, her notebook ready. Mrs. Linden, Jamie's teacher, waited as a witness, twisting her hands. Kara arrived last, with her public defender Pierce, a harried man in a rumpled suit, glancing at papers like they might save her. She looked different from the disheveled woman the police described, hair pulled back, blouse pressed, but her eyes were red-rimmed, darting to me before settling on the floor. No eye contact with the empty chair beside me, Jamie's, spared from this. The bailiff called order at 10 sharp, and Caldwell took her seat, glasses low on her nose, expression neutral as she scanned the file. Case of Mallory versus Mallory, custody petition, she began, voice crisp. Harlan stood first, outlining the emergency order, the 2 a.m. arrival, Jamie's condition, the temporary placement with me. Your Honor, this isn't isolated, it's a pattern of neglect documented meticulously by petitioner. He handed over the dossier excerpts, dates, photos of finger bruises from grips too tight. Notes on missed pickups when Kara's shifts ran late. I watched Kara's face tighten as the teacher took the stand next. Mrs. Linden, soft-spoken with a folder of her own, testified steadily. Jamie often arrived tired, sometimes without lunch. He'd mention being alone or loud nights at home. After the incident, he's brighter, more engaged. Her words matched my logs, the hunger reports, the quiet concerns about withdrawal. Caldwell jotted notes, asking, frequency of these observations? Linden, monthly, escalating last fall. Then came the core, my testimony. I raised my right hand, swore on the Bible, and took the stand, the wood creaking under me. Harlan guided me through it, calm, factual. Mr. Mallory, described the night of February 14th. I recounted the knock, Jamie's tears and bare feet, the freezing cheeks pressed to my leg. He said his mother told him he couldn't go home. On his foot, scrawled in marker, out with initials Kr, Kara Mallory. I paused, voice steady. I recorded his account immediately, the party, the marker from the table, the door slamming. The court stenographer typed away as I detailed warming him, calling police, Vasquez's arrival. No emotion, just sequence, like an inspection report. Harlan cued the neighbor's video on a courtroom laptop, the screen flickering to life. Gasps rippled as it played. Kara's porch, 1:58 a.m., Jamie pushed out, door shut firm. This corroborates the child's statement, Harlan said. Caldwell leaned forward, replaying the push. Clear expulsion, not wandering. Kara shifted, Pierce whispering urgently. My heart raced, but I kept eyes on the judge. The mark's photo followed, projected large, black ink on pale skin, deliberate as a signature. Vasquez testified next, her social services badge gleaming. Emergency placement was necessary, hypothermia risk, alcohol at the residence, mother's false claim to police that the child was asleep. She presented the phone messages, Kara to the vice principal, make those complaints disappear. Caldwell's brow furrowed. Obstruction of records? Vasquez nodded. Yes, Your Honor. Undermines any narrative of stability. The club's president, Tom Riley, followed, ledgers shown, $500 shortfalls under Kara's watch. She handled books, numbers didn't match. Quit before we could resolve. Pierce objected, speculative, but Caldwell allowed it, relevant to parental fitness. Kara's turn came after lunch, the room stuffier. She took the stand, hand trembling on the rail. Pierce led her. Ms. Mallory, explain the night. Her voice cracked. It was a small gathering. Jamie got upset, ran out. I searched, called my father. But the video undercut her, the push undeniable. Under cross, Harlan pressed, the mark on his foot? Your initials. She faltered, he must have done it himself. Kids play. Caldwell interjected, the footage shows otherwise. And the messages to school? Kara flushed, just asking for understanding. I'm a single mom, stressed. The bookkeeping twist landed heavy. She admitted volunteering but denied theft, miscalculations, nothing more. Pierce closed weakly, one lapse doesn't revoke rights. Harlan's summation tied it, the neglect log, porch video, foot signature, teacher's testimony, all point to endangerment. Petitioner offers stability, respondent, patterns of deception. Pierce countered, rehabilitation possible with support. Caldwell recessed for deliberation, the clock ticking past 12:30. I stepped out to the hall, sipping water from a fountain, Harlan optimistic. The evidence stacks. Kara avoided me, huddled with Pierce. She returned at 1:15, gavel calling order. Caldwell cleared her throat. I've reviewed the neglect log, consistent documentation of bruises, absences, inadequate care. The porch video confirms deliberate expulsion into unsafe conditions. The out signature on the child's foot indicates intent, not accident. Teacher's testimony highlights emotional impact. Social services notes the false police statement and obstruction attempts. Financial irregularities at the club further question stability and credibility. She paused, eyes on Kara. Ms. Mallory, your narrative of the child running off is contradicted by multiple sources. While rehabilitation is possible, the child's best interest demands immediate security. Primary custody awarded to petitioner Frank Mallory, with the minor Jamie Mallory. Respondent granted supervised visitation only, contingent on completing parenting courses and therapy within 90 days. Unmonitored contact barred until compliance. Child support calculations to follow. Relief hit like sunlight after storm clouds. Kara's head dropped, Pierce murmuring consolations. Harlan shook my hand, well fought. I nodded, throat tight, as the judge adjourned. Outside, Vasquez approached, good outcome. I'll monitor the visits. I thanked her, then drove to school, Jamie waiting with his backpack, drawing in hand, a robot guarding a house. Home that afternoon, I filed for divorce protections. Kara and I weren't married, but the custody tied to support. Harlan drafted papers to secure Jamie's needs from any lingering claims. I called a locksmith that evening, new deadbolts installed by dusk, keys only for me and a spare for Vasquez. The house felt fortified, routine solidifying. Jamie's bedtime at 8, story from a book about builders, lights out with the nightlight glowing. The first supervised visit came a week later, at the family center, neutral ground, worker present. Jamie went in hesitantly, me waiting outside. He emerged after 30 minutes, quiet but okay, Mom said sorry. Kara completed her first therapy session that month, courses starting, visits stayed short, progress logged in my ongoing dossier. School thrived, Mrs. Linden reported focus, no more hunger pangs. Evenings, we cooked together, spaghetti Tuesdays, robot building Saturdays. Months in, the outcome settled. I watched Jamie at the park, swinging higher without fear. The judge's words echoed, best interest. No violence, just structure, locks changed, routines rebuilt around sleep, early, uninterrupted, school, on time, engaged, and calm, no parties, just quiet talks. That 2 a.m. knock led here, custody mine, family forward on steady ground. The court outcome brought a quiet anchor to our days in Cedar Grove, like finally securing a building after years of shoring up weak spots. Over the following months, spring thawed the February frost, and Jamie's world steadied in ways I could measure, not just in my dossier notes, but in his steps, his smiles. At 78, I wasn't chasing youth, I was building stability, one routine at a time. No more frantic knocks or marks of expulsion. Instead, morning started with clockwork, alarm at 6:30, oatmeal with raisins at the kitchen table, backpack ready by the door. I picked him up from school at 3 sharp, no missed days, and Mrs. Linden's notes shifted from concerns to praise, Jamie's participating more, sharing ideas in class. The flinching stopped first, subtle but profound. In the early weeks, hallway footsteps, mine or the neighbor's dog, made him tense, eyes darting like expecting a door to slam. But by April, as cherry blossoms lined Elm Street, he walked ahead without glancing back, hand loose in mine only when he chose. I logged it, April 12th, first unprompted hug at bedtime. Nights were key, we set 8 p.m. lights out, no exceptions. I'd read from his robot book, voice low, until his breathing slowed. No nightmares after May, just dreams he shared over breakfast, flying machines, safe houses. His drawings told the story too. Before the hearing, they were stark, houses with locked doors, figures alone in shadows. Now, in the living room sketchpad, he drew, quiet houses, big windows, families inside, robots guarding the yard. This one's us, he'd say, pointing to a gray-haired figure with tools. I framed one on the fridge, a reminder of progress. School bloomed. The teacher suggested the robotics club at the community center, Wednesdays after pickup. Jamie joined in June, his small hands assembling gears under Mr. Patel's guidance, the same officer from that night, now a familiar face. He asks smart questions, Patel told me one evening. Got a knack for circuits. Jamie beamed, kit under arm, talking circuits all dinner. Summer brought longer days, our routine expanding, park walks at dusk, where he'd race to the swings without hesitation. I cooked his favorites, spaghetti on Tuesdays, grilled cheese without burning, and he helped, stirring sauce steady. Supervised visits with Kara continued monthly at the center. She finished her courses by July, therapy ongoing. Jamie returned quieter after, but steadier, mom's learning. I didn't push, the order held, visits short and monitored. My dossier noted it all, his reactions, her compliance, ensuring no backslide. Each night, as I tucked him in, that 2 a.m. knock replayed in my mind, his tears, the cruel mark. I'd sit by the bed, hand on his shoulder. No stamp or signature decides your fate, Jamie. Only love, structure, and courage. He'd nod, eyes closing, trusting the words. By fall, at 7 now, he led the routines, setting the table, picking books. Our family moved forward, guided not by expulsion, but by the axe that pulled him to safety.